Weakest or most underwhelming Bankai? Whose Bankai do you think is the weakest, or at least easiest to deal with? I think it's between Ikaku's and Mayuri's. Ikaku's is strong, but it has us a timer before getting this rolling and for like one attack. And didn't it break? Mayuri's Ashisoge Jizo has versatility, but the answer to it simply ranged explosive attacks in my opinion. Kensei's just give him super strength and armored punches. That is pretty underwhelming when compared to all the flashy things we saw from other captains. Who do you think is the weakest? Who do you think is the most boring or underwhelming? I think Kensei is one of the easiest to deal with. As long as you can dodge him, you're practically safe. Jakuho Raikoben falls in the same category because of its hard-to-handle nature and prep required in order to secure a hit on the target. I'd add Hisagi's Fushi no Kojo in there too. It's practically useless in a 1 versus 1 battle as it requires a third party to deal the finishing blow. Shinji's Bankai is useless in 1 versus 1 scenario as well, but when dealing with multiple opponents, super effective. Jakuho Raikoben, Soifon, self-explanatory, slows her down, rendering her basically a sitting duck, and the missile could just be blasted out of the air by anyone with a ranged attack who isn't retarded. It's completely impractical and only works if she's facing slow-moving target or someone with their movements restricted or limited. She needs outside help to achieve. That's it basically. Every other Bankai is at least an objective improvement over the Shikai, and therefore not underwhelming. Shinji's capacity to mess up multiple opponents at once overrules the drawback that it's not very useful in a 1 versus 1 fight since he has Sakanade for that. If he's not being dumb anyway, which is his fault and not the sword's. I thought Ikaku's Bankai fit him perfectly, and its strength would scale with the physical strength and the speed of the user. Aesthetically, it's also one of the most badass looking Bankai. It was more so underwhelming with how it was treated throughout the series. Soifon's Bankai goes against her fighting style completely and would need outside support to pull off in almost every scenario where she is fighting someone competent. I really think Kubo just couldn't think of the natural progression of her abilities from her Shikai and just dumped something completely unrelated as her Bankai. Rose's Bankai kinda has the biggest weakness if you think about it. Everyone who is willing to sacrifice his eardrums can counter it. I'm surprised that no one mentioned Ichigo's original Bankai. It doesn't give any new powers, but instead just boosts a physical stats, which isn't even that impressive, seeing how every serious opponent in Arrancaro's saga could keep up with him. I disagree about Suifeng's Bankai though. If anything, it makes her more versatile. Her weakness was that she lacked destructive power, but her Bankai gives her exactly that. Yes, Soifon's Bankai is the most underwhelming, but people aren't looking at it from the right angle. Bankai is an expression of the user inner self, so her Shikai is what she would want to be. A powerful, cold-blooded assassin can finish a fight quietly, but the truth is that she is someone much more expressive, with her actions much more controlled by her emotions and with an explosive temper, and I admit that I quite like it. like Shunsui, Shikai with his children game, but make you think he is carefree, but his Bankai make you realize he is sinister than you would think, like agreeing to sacrifice Ichigo as the Soul King. So Ikaku is the most underwhelming for me, because it is similarly not impressive, but it can make sense from a character inspection angle either. Physical Bankai will always seem weaker than the elemental or conceptual ones, due to the latter being reserved for stronger characters and introduced later, unless a physical Bankai has a strong thematic sense or creative design like Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. There's not really a lot of ways to show them off in an interesting way. The weakest Bankai is a physical or basic one that belongs to the weakest character, so probably Ikaku, or maybe Iba, given he and Ikaku are supposed peers, or maybe Isane, given she doesn't seem like a fighter, though her Zan implied elemental typing from the name. As for underwhelming, well, I feel it fits him well. Thematically, my honest response to Hisage's Bankai was that all? I've never been a fan of Hisagi, and given its reveal was hyped the entire novel, it being essentially a vehicle for talk no jutsu was disappointing. Kensei's Bankai would probably be runner-up, due how basic it is in design and ability, could have easily been a Shikai.